Hello and welcome to our new podcast or our second episode. And actually, it's the first episode. Now we did a try, and now it's our
Right.
first episode, our real episode that we decided to start our podcast and basically inform the people about a lot of topics, entrepreneurship, economy, politics. So we not gonna just talk about the trading industry because nowadays the trading industry is also connected to mindset, is connected to psychology, entrepreneurship, and so on and so forth. I would say we introduce ourselves, of course, because you're older than me. Our name,
How respectful. How respectful.
this is the way how we stories back. I will leave the introduction to you, Alex.
Thank you very much, my friend. So my name is Alex Duvidari, guys, aka the Asset Manager. That's the name I want to go by, actually. And like my friend Rami said, we are starting more or less. It's the first half official episode of our podcast. The name that we picked is the Friendly CTA Podcast. CTA means call to action, but also commodity trading advisor, which is in the US, it's basically the word for asset management or for traders. And what we want to do is like have a conversation among friends, and maybe some others would join us over time as well, about important topics that we feel are relevant, something out of what is happening in the world today, but also topics that are evergreens, that are always important and relevant to whatever, if you want to be successful in life, if you want to go into trading or any other related topics. So that's my introduction here. And Rami, please let us know, who are you?
Well, my name is Rami. I've been in the trading industry for 9 years now. With all the ups and downs, of course, there is not only the winning.
And we want to hear about those too. Sorry.
Exactly. I've been studying actually economy, business administration too. So I've been always in the economy industry. I was always interested into this kind of hedge fund manager, and option strategies and all these kind of things. Always been interesting for me. It was, like some sort of a miracle that people can sit in front of a computer, back the days and make money. I just didn't get into my head. And, and watching the Wall Street, it just stick to my head. And and since that time, that 9 years, it kept following me, and I kept, learning more and more and more about the market. And, I'm 33 years old, or young, and I live
Young.
Yeah, I live in Dubai since a few years. I used to live in Australia before, and now I live in Dubai and enjoy life and work hard, play hard.
Very nice, very nice.
We are making this kind of podcast. I was really excited for it because I think podcasting is a very nice thing to do nowadays. Speaking up, having your own voice and having your own opinion that can go viral. Because I mean, you know how it is. Media sometimes doesn't allow you to say what you want to say.
Yeah.
So it's
That you say media is very curated, right? It's like managed information, and it's always serving a certain perspective or topic or whatever. And in this kind of podcast format, we can just do long form points of views and our opinions, and actually go deeper than just the typical short doom scrolling type of information, right?
the dopamine scrolling. I call it the dopamine.
Yeah.
Like.
So because you also did that, let me also just add two more words about myself. So I've been in the trading industry for close to 2 decades. I have a background. I worked for a German private bank. I worked for a hedge fund in Switzerland. I've actually won some investment awards. I've been involved in trading and managing money for the better part of the last 2 decades. And I'm to say I have a lot of deep insights into not just markets per se, but especially the brokerage industry as well. Like, how does it actually work? Because many of the strategies that are more traded in the banking or in the professional space are more related to liquidity and things of that nature, statistical stuff, and much less about guessing the market direction. So it will be very interesting to combine these two things between us, and like I said, maybe also guests or other podcast members here. So I think the number one topic that's really very interesting at the moment, that you read it everywhere, is the dollar collapse. It's like everybody thinks it's imminent. the United States is going to die, the dollar's going to zero, oh my God, we're all going to crash and burn and die. I'd like to know, what do you think about that topic yourself? Maybe, do you have an opinion? Do you have...
I think personally, people don't understand, if that kind of things happen, of course, people will be happy because a lot of crypto follower, will have the recognition that the fiat money is basically the money that will fail because it's not managed right, and the state is not taking care of it the way how it's supposed to be for the population. But at the end of the day, don't forget, if the dollar collapses, it's not just the United States that collapses. And I think people underestimate, the reach of the dollar. Of course, we can see other states creating the new, the new leading currency, such as South Africa and Brazil. Yeah. Probably going to speak about that too. But at the end of the day, don't forget, the dollar is helping a lot of countries out there to keep their currency stable. So in the long run, maybe the dollar will collapse, but they will find a digital solution, in my opinion. So just saying the dollar will collapse is, I think, we might see crash. Yeah, we might see a crash. That could happen, but I don't think the dollar will collapse. That's my opinion. Because if the dollar collapses, you probably be happier to have a Kalashnikov.
Pray to that if the dollar collapsed in full, we really have other problems that we should concern ourselves with. I do agree. Like, okay, I mean, this whole narrative started more or less, or keeps coming up, but recently with this China and Brazil, I think it was a summit or something, and so what China is doing is, obviously China has invested in a lot of infrastructure all over the world, ports and like strategic imported railways, things of that nature. And China obviously has overtaken the US in terms of trade with other countries in the world. So, and that also has been a bit of a force out of the US to de-globalize things, right? But China will continue to develop its investments, and the relationships globally, they're not just going to end because of that. So they're trying to introduce their currency more to more and more in the world. But like something that you just mentioned actually is super important, because the number one thing why I don't think this is the end of the US dollar is that the Chinese currency itself is pegged to the US dollar, guys. So it derives its value from the US dollar. So the Chinese doesn't have a free floating currency, and nobody really knows what the Chinese yuan would be worth if it was a free floating tradable currency. And also like...
Not just that, don't forget, Alex, don't forget something you really have to add here. Don't forget that the Chinese are still very, very dependent on the Americans. You know what I mean? Because the Americans still have very, very important locations worldwide.
Worldwide, yeah.
That, like locations where they, dictate rules and laws, So they have still a lot of...
Yeah, they have a massive influence. Yeah, obviously.
I've always found that narrative to say, the Chinese are taking over everything. Yes, I see that worldwide. I travel a lot. But at the end of the day, the Americans still have a say, I think
definitely. Like, I mean, also, again, it's not just the Chinese currency that's pegged to the US dollar. Like even in the Middle East, where there's like the oil-rich countries, Jordan, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, they're all pegged to the US dollar. All these currencies, they are still very much reliant on the value of the dollar, and that alone is influence. But at the same time, we do have to, like, what are the risks? And I do think that one of the risks that the US has done, maybe, let's just say, a foreign policy mistake, or maybe not just like the smartest thing to do, is they have weaponized the US dollar maybe too much, right? So when they seized all the bonds that the Russians were owning, other holders of US debt, they asked themselves, hey, so if we don't get along with the US, are they going to seize our US debt ownings? Yeah? So China definitely thinks like, hey, we're holding trillions of dollars of this stuff. If the US is not happy with us, they're just going to raise our, or kick us out of SWIFT. And so obviously China needs to have an alternative, or needs to work on an alternative, if the US continues to weaponize its US dollar in that way, So, and that's really very, very important topic. So we will have to see also how the whole policy out of Washington is going to continue. I mean, Biden is, I think, from many perspectives, a bigger evil than Donald Trump could ever have been. I think that's an episode alone that we can discuss about.
Important is just looking at the dollar. I don't like those narratives. Also, and all these kind of media, I don't want to even mention the names, but
it's too esoteric, man.
Exactly. It's just too easy to say, oh, the dollar will collapse. It's the same like that people say, we will see a recession. I think you have to look at it on many angles, you know what I mean? And I think it's...
The devil's in the details, right?
Exactly. It's easy. I personally, for example, say, we will see a recession. It's just an example, but we will have to look at it on a different angle, what needs to happen. And this is the same with the dollar, I think the dollar can collapse, but it's too easy to say it will collapse, So, and if it collapses, there will be an alternative, or it needs to be an alternative that helps all the other states that is basically connected to the dollar, or the currencies are connected.
So what we're seeing is that I think what China is doing is, obviously most countries in the world use SWIFT, right? So let's just say if Saudi Arabia sells oil to China, and then they basically need to go with the US dollar as a proxy. They convert their currency to US dollar, the US dollar then, and the yuan is converted to US dollar. So there's always a US dollar transaction in the middle. So here the Chinese have introduced a new system. It's called SIPS. That will allow them to settle transactions in their local currencies without needing to have the dollar in the middle. But that doesn't give or take away, in my opinion, from dollar value per se. That's really just a transactional thing. And the question is, which currency do you want to hold, right? And if you're saying like, okay, I want to hold Saudi Arabian currency, or I want to hold Chinese currency, well, let me again break it to you, both of these currencies are pegged to the US dollar value. So you're holding a US dollar proxy in potentially a less reliable or reliant setup, And so...
Don't forget, if the dollar would be not that important, why is China holding all these reserves?
That much debt, yeah. But that's actually also a very important topic that I think the US needs to find a better solution for. They have about $32 trillion of debt, and that debt needs to be financed, right? So there needs to be will there continue to be other countries or other buyers for that debt? That's really a question. And I also think that, for example, what Biden is doing here is bad because he's spending trillions of dollars for things in the US that the US needs to refinance itself in a better way. Otherwise, people will probably think of, hey, holding US dollar debt is going to get more and more inflated. But if you look at other fiat alternatives, then you're looking okay, which countries are better? Because BRICS are so much always in the conversation, respectfully, but Brazil is still a country that's fighting a lot with corruption. South Africa, even China. I mean, China is again, respectfully, not necessarily known for its democratic, free society that brings innovation.
Let's be honest here, this is all respectfully. We're not speaking in a bad manner, but there's websites you can't visit in China, and that's not allowed. It's just a fact, and that shows you that if they restrict things, who knows how they restrict currencies, how you work with the...
Exactly. So that they every other major economy has its own problems, and the US doesn't seem poorly positioned in the global comparison.
Not at all. And it's easy, Alex. It's always easy to stand on the side and to say, you have to do it in this way in order to do it better. Get to the point that you've been the leading currency worldwide. Set up a system, you know what I mean? Try to make it almost without any corruption on the way, and let all the people and all the countries participate as having the dollar as the leading currency worldwide. Get to that point, and we'll have a conversation again. That's what I say.
I agree, because
having this criticism is always one thing, and trying to put in place something similar is another thing. It's not easy.
Exactly. And again, I think also in the global comparison, the US is still the leading free society globally, the strongest enterprises, the strongest entrepreneurship culture. Talent from all over the world goes to the US. Innovation comes a lot out of the air. Just look at AI, for example. Like AI was not birthed in China.
No.
It's in the US again, right? And the whole internet boom that brought so much prosperity to the US in the last decade, it's all from the US as well. So I don't want to be like a US fanboy here, but those are facts.
You made a few facts that are very, very important. All those things you mentioned just now are from the US. And the US, is basically the US dollar. And that's what the US dollar will represent. And this is what I say. It's too, in my opinion, this is my opinion, and I know I will earn a lot of criticism because of that. I say too big to fail.
There's something to it there because there's no alternative. Maybe Bitcoin can develop into one, but then again, it's a different conversation for a different episode.
And don't forget, as long as Bitcoin, and we will have this conversation, no worries. We will have this conversation, but as long as Bitcoin is not that stable and loses 70%.
Right, and it's still small market cap and everything. It's very difficult to take out that place. It's not possible.
Very good.
And like I said, and even the next, let's just say, best economy out there, or actually that's a joke by now. Europe is failing like big time economically.
Look, and failing.
The euro is not a. You can't replace the dollar. So I don't see what will replace the dollar necessarily at this point in time. Actually, I don't see anything replaced.
No. That's my opinion, and that's why we can basically put.
But speaking of Bitcoin, a little bit, let's go pivot or change the topic here a little bit. Like what we've seen, like a big movement, right, in the crypto market this last few months or in the first quarter of the year.
I didn't expect it.
Honestly, if somebody had told me in December we're going to be here now at the beginning of April, I would not necessarily have agreed either. But let's have maybe a few words about the current state of the crypto market. What are your point of views here? Or what's your main thing with?
I think personally, I'm a big fan of Bitcoin and Ethereum, and that's it. That's the only two coins that I would invest money into it. Would I jump on the altcoins? Probably I would do it, but only for increasing my portfolio for a short term and pump it into Bitcoin. I would never be the guy that sits on his computer and
the bag holder.
Exactly. And researches for all these special coins just in order to have that lucky catch. You know what I mean? Would that be working? Maybe. But I say if you really have a proper strategy, you stick with Bitcoin. You can't go wrong with Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin established itself same way as Ethereum. And I think on the long run, I think we're going to say, we will see people shifting from fiat money also to the crypto money. I think with coming generations where, there is alternatives to the fiat money, I think Bitcoin on the long run will definitely be one of those assets that it's good to have. Like some people say, it's the digital gold. You know what I mean? If you don't have it, you will not die maybe, but you will miss a big opportunity in your lifetime. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I certainly, we share a lot of the same opinion here. I do think what we've seen the last 2 years in crypto clearly also support this position that you just stated, because what we've seen is that a lot of the things that happen in crypto were more or less a Wild West version of an existing market, right? And what we've seen is that it created a whole lot of confidence crises. First it was Terra Luna that collapsed, which showed like, hey, these fragile, complicated derivative structures, they don't last, right? Then we had basically it started there, and then all the dominoes fell. The next one was Celsius or Voyager that turned out to be much more riskier than people thought. They thought like, hey, I put money in a bag, right? No, you did not. Because they had no transparency about what they were really doing, and this is what caused the loss at the end of the day.
I know a lot of people that lost, especially in Dubai, that lost a lot of money.
Yeah, and that's actually also an interesting topic. We could talk about Ponzi's one day as well, because man, especially Dubai, is so crazy how much of that shit floats around. And people just because they're running for yield, they're always blinded by profit promises that are bullshit. Like, my God.
Exactly. It's, look, it's greed. You know how
Hey, yeah.
there's a special saying about greed. Let me just, remember it, and I will tell you. But greed eats. We say in Germany, greed eats.
Greed.
Brain.
Yes, it does.
So, and it does eat their brain, because everyone wants to make more. And everyone knows there's a lot of scams. Come on, guys. Do you really think you're going to put in somewhere money and triple it and quadruple it within 1 year just out of nothing? Where does that exist?
And how stupid must Warren Buffett be? I mean, okay, he doesn't support crypto still, but he's the richest investor of the world. So he needs to be taken a little bit seriously, at least, Don't you think he would have, if he had other opportunities to make hundreds of percents a year, don't you think he would have done those?
That done a long time ago, would have done a long time ago, and that's the point, And I think it's the fault. It's social media,
Yeah,
that created that world. I would say if it wouldn't be for social media, it wouldn't be for TikTok, it wouldn't be for Instagram and Facebook and you name it. I don't think that cryptos or those Ponzi schemes would have that kind of big, hype.
reach. Yeah. Accessibility. I agree with you. And actually, but yeah, okay, go ahead.
I remember that, I used to live in Australia. I used to work in the gold mines, back the days. And one to another day, I was reading an article. I was reading an actual newspaper. There was a guy from McKinsey. He was speaking about Bitcoin and saying something like, this could be the new, currency that is
Gold
in the internet, gold or whatever it was called, And back to days, it was like $200 or something. And I was saying to my friend back to days, listen, we need to buy this. And he said, bullshit, I tell you, if it would be for social media and if it would be hype back to days, would be a different story.
Probably, yeah. And so if you work in a gold mine, then you actually know what proof of work means.
Oh, man.
I doesn't have that stuff out in the
nations one day, but, working in the gold mines in Australia, in the middle of the outback, there was no fun, man. There was no...
I bet.
I tell you, why I value money so much and why I'm not that kind of flashy spender is because I have been, working from the bottom. Nothing was presented for free. And that's why I say I don't believe in the quick...
That's another interesting topic, spending habits that we could actually also talk about. By the way, if you're watching this and you have an idea for topics, whether it's comment or not, let us know. So I think spending habits is a very important thing because nowadays everybody thinks it's all about the Rolls Royces and whatever. And if you reach a certain level, then it's obviously fine to give you some gratification that you really earned basically. But at the end of the day, it should be a fraction of what you make, and it shouldn't impact your bottom line. But that's a different topic. What I like what you said earlier is that Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then maybe altcoins, and I do agree with that to some extent. Actually, also the same thing you said. When Bitcoin and Ethereum go up, there's usually something called an alt season, right? And so it means that because of that, and because of this FOMO herd behavior, all the low market cap things, they rise so much. Why? Because they're low market cap. If something's only a few million, and then a few tens of millions come to invest in that, it goes up hundreds of percent. And that's something that doesn't happen in the traditional market so much because there's not these assets available. If you buy a certain stock that is listed or or even a commodity, the market cap of that is enormously large. So it needs an enormous amount of money to go up. So that's why micro caps are a way to really make hundreds, thousands of percentages, but most of them have, people argue if Bitcoin has intrinsic value. So that should tell you that 99.999% of any other crypto has no intrinsic value. So like you said, this is a short-term play. When you see an alt season coming up after a Bitcoin move, and that's really something that you learned after the last few cycles,
Yeah.
There's really a way of how this stuff works. So you can very much profit from that, and you take the advantage, you take the momentum, but then, like you said, you go back into stables or into Bitcoin and Ethereum. And even though those two are also very different, but again, that's a conversation for a different day. But what we've seen is like that these are big opportunities, how many people probably have made big returns in percentages, like maybe returns no one ever has seen in any generation before,
100%.
and then lost it all back to the fucking market. Sorry, well, I shouldn't curse, but you know,
That's the fact. That's the fact. You know, like, that's the fact, because most of them, they don't have a clue about the market. And
no experience, no training.
exactly, I have customer. I'm not lying to you. I saw it with my own eyes. He made out of 80 euros, 200K.
Wow, think about that.
Believe it or not, I saw it with my own eyes, you know?
Incredible.
With all these, I wouldn't even call them altcoins, you know? It's some sort of, you purchase them on MetaMask, and it's very difficult even to purchase them, you know? That alone shows you it can't be good. You know what I mean? I always say to myself,
or it can be sustainable, right?
Exactly. If something is difficult to purchase, it can't be sustainable, and it can't be.
It can't be
someone who wants exactly. If they really want you to have it on the long run, they will make a very big, very big move.
Yeah, liquidity, accessibility are main factors to that.
Exactly. But if I want to have just this one shot, I want to do a way how I will create a way how you can buy it. But I will not do that accessibility, that you be...
And don't underestimate that most of the influencer shoutouts, they're purchased and they serve the purpose of pushing the price up. And for those who already own a lot of it, to dump on the people that come late. Those are huge pumps and dumps that happen all the time. So that's why even alt season is not just high risk, it's the high risk part of the high risk, and especially you can be only half a day late or half an hour late, and you will lose all your money, or it will make all the difference between making thousands of percentages or losing 100%. So anyway, if you get into these kind of market, but then you should only do it with money that you're prepared to completely lose it. So
exactly,
that's why I think that this confidence crisis that we've seen all over the crypto space, even ending then with FTX, that for some strange reason, nobody's talking about anymore these days. SBF is just sitting in a house in San Francisco enjoying life, more or less.
The internet forgets, man. The internet forgets.
It's incredible. Well, CZ is the bad guy, basically, that hasn't lost people. But I wouldn't say he's an angel. It's very difficult to be in the brokerage industry and be an angel. Like what I've seen in 20 years of brokerage industry, it just births problematic, unethical type of decision making.
Let's be honest. With brokers, I wouldn't say, of course, some of them are regulated, but at the end of the day, if they say we don't pay you out, they don't pay you out, and you can be shit about it.
You can do nothing. Yeah, that's bad and worse, right? That's really the differentiation here.
And so what they're gonna do, if they don't want to pay you out, and most of them
I totally agree.
Somewhere. And this is also the crazy thing, just to stick with the coins, this is what frustrates me about all these, nowadays so-called new projects, in the old coins. Some people create coins where you wear a shoe and you walk around and you make money.
Right. Yeah.
Create a coin where you, where you cook and make... Come on, guys. Don't be silly.
Yeah, those are like... it's gonna fade quickly. So if you can be early on these narratives, and there's actually a way to do that. And like what you earlier mentioned, you need to be that guy that spends hours on Twitter, that catches these things quickly and early. And also knows how to handle his psychology, and only play with money that he's prepared to lose. Then you can have a chance of flipping these things. But for 99% of people that want to have some crypto exposure, in my opinion, the best way to do it, just dollar cost average into a Bitcoin, maybe into Ethereum on top. Dollar cost average means you take a certain percentage, let's just say, of your income every month, and you buy every month or every week or whatever time interval you choose, but you keep doing that for a very long time. Let's just say you take $100 and you buy Bitcoin every week or every month. You know, those people that bought Bitcoin at the top of 69,000, if they would have continued to do the dollar cost averaging since then, they would now be in plus, right? While the price is only half as high as it used to be, less even. So that's the power of long term. And those are the only assets that you really would be or should be willing, in my opinion, no financial advice, to hold, which is Bitcoin. And Ethereum is a bit of a more, let's just say, complicated thing, because it does have a leading team. It does have a leadership. Let's just put it this way. It might be classified as a security. It might be not. So it's a little less of a clear thing than what Bitcoin is. And if we learned one thing from all these crypto failures, is that complexity, that means it's fragile, which leads to collapses. That's even what we're seeing in these banking crises now. The same thing, because the complexity was they took all the customer money in, they bought long-term bonds. These long-term bonds, they bought them when the interest rate was low. Now the interest rate got higher. These bonds are trading under value, nominal value, and now suddenly the bank doesn't even have the liquidity anymore. They will have it back in 10, 20, 30 years. Just wait, my friend. You get your money back.
Then that's, you see that there's a lot of topics out there we can speak about.
Yeah. So complexity gives let's just say, complexity creates risk, and makes fragility the biggest risk. And Bitcoin is the opposite of that. Bitcoin is anti-fragile because it's very simply structured, is extremely decentralized, it has no leadership, nobody owns or can really dictate anything in it, and that's what makes it so unique, in my opinion.
Look, there's always also pros and cons at the end, you know what I mean?
Of course.
I understand those people that, that especially that works in the traditional industry that says, listen, if you, like with Bitcoin, all the, criminals can move money around the way how they like.
But that's not even true. I mean, blockchain is the opposite. It's the full transparency. Yeah.
Of course, but that's the traditional way how they look at it.
Yeah.
But at the
we need to educate those guys.
At the end of the day, if you think about it, nowadays creating your own bank, if you have enough money, is not a big deal, Still, I still want to say is that when it comes to Bitcoin, I'm a big admirer of Bitcoin, because I'm going to tell you something that probably, maybe happened to you too. You want to transfer money as quick as possible, and it's a larger sum, and it's all earned. It's all earned, right? It's
your money, yeah, exactly.
It's all made, and you can prove every single cent of it, But still, if you do this kind of transaction, the bank will probably ask you, why are you doing this?
They may not even have the money to begin there, but
it just baffles me, like this is our own experience. This is our own experience. So I want to transfer money to the Middle East, and I can promise you, I'm not any connected to any dose of, I don't want to even mention
the Middle East alone. You must be a terrorist or something.
Exactly, like I'm having nothing to do with that. And there's questions that, well, you just questions,
Understand, like, why are you transferring the money?
Why are you doing this? I want to have my money. It's my money. I made it. I made it at the stock market, and I want to use it. And it's not your problem, And I understand their concerns, but sometimes those concerns, they go too far. And that's why I'm a big admirer of Bitcoin, because it allows me to transfer money wherever I want, whenever I want, and even in the middle of the night, without anyone, supporting it.
And what I also like about that is that it's permissionless, like you said, like everyone can transact on that blockchain. Yeah. You don't need anyone to allow it to you or to authorize it or any of that. And at the same time, it's transparent. It's not, you cannot fake the blockchain. It means that whatever record you leave on there, whatever transaction happened, whatever will be forever traceable, forever. That means that Bitcoin gives an amount of transparency that doesn't even exist in the traditional financial world. And I think that's even maybe the bigger problem why banks hate it, because we don't even know what happens inside these banks, or what's actually going on behind the closed doors.
Alex, I'm going to tell you a story because of that. It's a private story. Picture, I've been with a bank. The name doesn't matter. It's a big German bank. I've been with banks since like 19 years. And, since a kid, and I grow with this bank. And one day to another, I will not lie to you, 3 weeks ago, I'm receiving a letter back home. It says, based on, in the law 19, we will terminate your account. I called them, and they didn't say why.
Yeah, they won't actually.
They didn't say.
I had something happen to me too. Yeah.
They said we don't have to tell you, and I promise you, I don't do any illegal business, so I can prove everything that I do.
Yeah.
So they terminated my account just out of nowhere, because maybe there's an algorithm, or maybe there's someone sitting that say,
right,
these kind of transactions, I don't like them. I've been flagging this.
So there's definitely a need globally, because think of all the people that don't even have banking. There is a need for an alternative banking for people in the world. That's why I think it will continue to develop and thrive.
Yeah, look at El Salvador. I mean, they built an example that it can work. It can work.
Yeah, I mean, there's also when you look in those details, they do have challenges. But all things considered, their choice or their decision to do that has helped the country to put it on the map. People know about it. The economy has gotten better. They're still doing these volcano bonds things. So there is definitely more good happening for the country than not for making that choice, And I do think that other, for the lack of a better word, third world countries can really look up to that and remodel or reshape it to their own understandings. And this is why I think, speaking earlier to the de-dollarization, is that I think the only asset that has the chance to potentially replace the dollar needs to be something international, or at least as something that is not controlled by one entity, because that's the big criticism on the US dollar. Guys, you are just creating so many dollars and you're just spending it. And that's why you are inflating it. And we need to inflate it together with you when we have no advantage from that. And if you have an asset that everybody uses that has a more of a neutral stance, that is decentralized, then I think that is the big opportunity really here of why crypto can actually, or Bitcoin per se, can really go for the win. But right now, we need more technology development. We need layer 2 developments, layer 3 development, speed, scalability, all of that, not on the base level. That base level needs to be simple, safe, secure, the way it is, in my opinion, and then the rest will build on top of it. I think we've spoken enough about this topic, so we can obviously revisit that here. So actually, the next topic would be, and that's it fits what we're doing right now. It's like, since you and both of us, I would say, we're sort of not just traders, but we're also entrepreneurs, I guess, in the modern type of the word. And we're present on the internet, so on social media. So online marketing is the topic that is part of our lives in one shape or another. And I'd like to also incorporate always like a topic of entrepreneurship, online marketing in our conversations here. What do you think of, because if you look at where did you start and where are you now, it looks like you've also had to pivot, like change what you're doing repeatedly on that path. So what are your thoughts on needing or the ability to pivot as an online entrepreneur? Do you have any input on that?
Look, I think as an online entrepreneur, there is a lot of obstacles that nobody speaks about, and where you have to always pivot the right point in order to grow. What do I mean by that? If, for example, I realized after a while living in Germany that if I stay there, probably I could put in front of my house maybe 2 Rolls-Royce, in a year. Realized I have to save taxes. So what did I do? I moved to Dubai. Entrepreneurship always means to adapt to new environment, adapt to new obstacles, adapt to criticism, how to deal also with new rules, new laws. That entities sometimes create out of nowhere.
Nowhere. Yeah.
Nowhere. Speaking about brokers, remember the ESMA, I don't know what they call it.
Yeah.
European regulation with the leverage
and yeah,
exactly, things that come up, then you need to transfer money from here to there. What do I mean by that? Entrepreneurship, by far, no matter what they show you out there on social media, it's not a funny thing.
It's not linear, right? It's not,
man.
it's
It's like
pivoting all the time, basically.
exactly. You said something very, very nice last time regards the trading and and day trading. It's like I feel like I wake up in the morning, but I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I have to put that in place. When I wake up in the morning, I know I'm going to war
To war, yeah.
on a daily, on a daily basis.
And we'll talk about these things also in an episode, like the details of trading strategies and what they actually mean. But I agree, like if you are a day trader or you trade on a daily basis in a market, that's war zone for sure.
It's not this. Like we speaking about brokers not paying you out.
Yeah, and with all sorts of complexity. Let's keep that for another episode. That's a great idea, actually.
We're gonna speak about that. Like going to the point that entrepreneur means to me, you need, there need to be a will in yourself. And back the days, I used to think you can make everyone successful being an entrepreneur. And I don't believe that anymore. I believe you can grow to be an entrepreneur, but it needs to be in you. It needs to be.
You need to have certain qualities, yeah.
Exactly.
Or you need to cultivate them, yeah.
Exactly. And it's very, very difficult to cultivate them and get there. Because you need to deal, like I said, you need to deal with obstacles, and those obstacles are not easy. You need to deal with obstacles in your family, sometimes like entities that are or stakeholders that are important to you change their rules. With criticism from your customer, because they find something that is better, or because they think it's better, because it's better marketing on the internet, and the list is very endless.
I think what you're saying here, and I certainly agree with that, is that the degree of flexibility that you require when you go down that path is really important. And to be honest, if I look at my own career or life back, before the word entrepreneurship or this whole online marketing or online entrepreneurship culture existed, is that like one of not the most important quality for continued success in my life has really been to pivot from one thing to another, and using all the skills and experiences that I gained from whatever phase I was in before, and in the next phase. Like, for example, I started as an intern at a bank, at a private bank. So what did I learn there? First of all, cooking coffee, obviously. You don't say that in English like that, right? But anyway, but what I mainly learned is that how does liquidity work? Where does liquidity come from? How does the technology work? Do people really win in trading? How do the people look like? What do they trade that actually win in trading? And so on and so forth. So I was able to gain a lot of insights and understanding from these topics. Did that make me immediately successful? No. If I had stayed in that job, would I have become very successful? No. So what I needed to do is take this understanding and knowledge and apply it to a next phase. I pivoted from working at a brokerage or a bank to going into asset management, right? And so I think that's the same thing here, is that also, especially when you are in the market, there's no single strategy that works forever. Market phases change, especially with all this technology that we live in. Let's just see what AI is going to bring to the table too in the next few years, So you need the ability to shift, to pivot, and to, instead of becoming protective of what you know to be true, is to use that in order to excel to the next opportunity. That's, I think, is a very important quality. And a saying that I really like in that respect is from Charlie Munger. And he said, like, even though, again, he hates Bitcoin, but those guys, they're still goats. Nobody's been around so long as those guys. He said, what boat you are in is far more important than how hard you row, right? You need to understand, which vessel am I in? If I'm trying to trade a strategy that the market doesn't really respond to anymore like it used to, then it's a losing fight. I need to adapt to something. Or if I'm trying to buy the dip in a market that only goes down, there's only so many dips you can survive.
Exactly. And I think it worked for a lot of people for a long time, but it's not.
Yes, I couldn't do it
on the long run. I think, entrepreneurship got misunderstood through social media. And I think people that have been a long time in the game know that entrepreneurship means you always, it's easy to put in your bio on Instagram or somewhere in LinkedIn, you're an entrepreneurship. But proving being an entrepreneurship in the darkest time when people don't buy your product.
It's hustling, man. It's tough. It's hustling. Really, it is.
Exactly. And sometimes, like even me, and I could say I made a pretty good money or decent money in the last years. I think sometimes, like what's the next step? Is the strategy that I'm using approaching customer or the way how I approach the market, is it maybe still up to date? And
right.
For example, I give an example, my trading is slowing down. It's not anymore the trading I used to do, opening market, the London session, come on, look for an entry, US session, look for an entry. No, I'm slowing down because I'm seeing the market is just going in one direction.
The behavior is different. The profile of the market has changed. Or has changed.
Yeah. The market changed, and people don't see that, especially the millennials. They don't see that because most of them, not all of them, most of them are now involved into the crypto market since Corona, and they
right. So all they see is a buy a dip phase, basically.
Exactly.
Till they lost, most of them lost a lot of money probably in the last year.
I know for a fact, I'm going to tell you something, and I know for a fact that will happen once this recession sets in, and there will be this big, massive dip, and I'm sure that will come. I think that's where a lot of them will get wiped off. The complete market.
Completely wiped out. Yeah. I think that's a very important thing that you say here, is that the ability to not risk everything, and that's something that's also very important to keep in mind. Like when you reach a certain level, also the strategies or the type of trading that you look at changes, because you don't want to flip 100, 200, 300, 500% a year anymore. Let's just say it wasn't possible for a certain amount of time anyway. But if your risk is 100% loss, you're not going to go with the 100% loss with your million, 2, 3, 5 in the market, right? So you're looking at strategies. How can I deploy my capital in the safest way and make a return?
Exactly.
And still make an above average return. That's, for example, a reason why I pivoted at the moment more into trading statistical stuff like selling options premiums or providing liquidity on DEXs, and we can talk about these topics some other time,
because I think people don't know, and even me, look, I've been long.
Yeah, it's still very selling premium is not new per se, but it's still something that a lot of people just don't understand. They have no clue what it actually is.
Exactly. This is what I mean,
yes.
And it's not accessible as day trading. You can't.
It's not like a nice chart. It draws some lines and it doesn't, right?
It doesn't look logical to the people. You know what I mean? It's not
right.
Not already made accessible for the 9-to-5 person.
Right. And actually, I agree a lot with that. That in fact, it's always been there, but what it requires you, and I think this is what entrepreneurship and the ability to pivot to other things really do to you and to your thinking, to your perception, is that you become more dimensional in the way you look at things. You don't look at things only from one point of view. You actually, if you have your point of view, you're trying to question your point of view or ask yourself, how could I look at this thing from a different angle? How would someone else look at it? You know what I mean? And that ability, that quality is, I think, where you really will find success over a longer period. 100%. You will have peaks and valleys. Markets have peaks and valleys. Everything has peaks and valleys. That's just, we live in a cyclical world in the first place. Like it's not always summer, it's not always winter. And that's just how the reality, the blueprint of the universe that we live in just exists. And I love to see things as above, so below kind of thinking. So there's always you don't exist in a vacuum per se. You basically coexist with this whole structure. Yeah. And as the more peace you make with that, and the more you take change as an opportunity, and the more you become adaptive to change and see pivoting not as something that is taking safety and security away from you, but actually helps you to excel and develop to the next opportunity and level of existence and mindset and skill set. And that's, I think, is why the ability to pivot or the openness to pivot is a crucial quality for success for anyone, not just entrepreneurs.
Definitely. And I think on the long run, if you don't look at entrepreneurship from all these kind of angles, you will fail anyway. And I saw,
Yes.
I saw, look, I've been in this industry for a long time, you too, and you see people coming and going. You
True.
have this will.
That's
I think,
tourists.
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, at the end of the day, you have to be having the will. Without the will,
Yes.
you will get the best product. You know what I mean? It can be the best product, but at the end of the day, if you don't have the will to maybe look at it on a different angle, adapt it to the market, you will fail.
And that happens everywhere. I mean, for example, Facebook was the undisputed number one company in growth and everything, social media and whatnot. And they literally got punched in the face so heavily. Even Google now with AI, same thing. So even these giants, with billions of dollars and tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people that work for them every day are subject to that same reality. And if you realize that, well, how could you think for yourself just for a moment that this doesn't apply to your reality? Come on, be reasonable, go with it, embrace it, work with it. And that's why I think is my takeaway in this. And
Look, you can't, as an entrepreneur, you can't settle.
Yeah, you can't sell. That's so true. And actually, also, it's a great way to pivot to the next topic. Dubai, this shiny object of a city in this world. It seems like more or less everyone is attracted to that place or hates it a lot, and we. So you've been living there for a few years. I lived there part-time, come and go all the time as well for a number of years now as well. So what's your take on Dubai? How is it? Give us the truth, the good and the bad about it.
I can't tell you the bad, because otherwise.
Oh wow! All right. I think it starts, bro.
Nah. Look, Dubai is, for me personally, the place to be nowadays. It has all the opportunities. It reminds me of America. Maybe I don't live in America, but like just by hearing and by reading, it reminds me of America a few years ago. A few decades ago, where
right.
America, you work hard. There's enough connections you can make. There's a lot of people that really want to achieve something. They want to change something.
And right, the environment, yeah.
Exactly. The environment in Dubai right now is literally, attracting all these kind of people with a lot of liquidity. So if you have the right idea, if you have the right approach, you probably will get to know those people. But in the same time, it's a hate. I would not say it's a hate love, but it forces you always to push the pedal. What do I mean by push the pedal? Because I can't go on my terrace, see all the skyline and the beaches that
relax. Just relax, right?
Don't worry. Would I do that in Spain? Probably. With all the respect to Spain, but Spain is a different vibe.
Yeah, let's have a siesta first, and then we talk about
1 o'clock. I would tell you, you know what, mate, take it easy.
Yeah.
But here, I just don't feel it. I don't feel relaxed here. If you come on holiday, you spend your time, at the beach.
There's a different side to it. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But living here means constant hustle.
Yeah. Actually, I do agree with that, and because I don't stay 100% permanently in Dubai, I do take these breaks from Dubai for exactly that reason. Because I have kids, I have family, it's like a little bit of a different type of energy maybe also. But I do agree that Dubai, that the amount of unresting energy of wanting to create and push and do and more and succeed is just enormous. And you could argue for good and for bad, but I like to look more at the good side of it, because it's also this opportunity births success, and there's other places in the world. And I would actually say, sadly, our home country, Germany, has not even a fraction of that possibility and energy. It's very close-minded, it's very envious, it's very unsupportive. Look, and that mainly births a certain culture, right? And
I want to clarify something, because before we received all these hate comments,
Right. I do love Germany, though. I still love the Germany I grew up in. That's what it is.
Yeah, I love the Germany that I grew up in. I love the Germany that educated me. I
Right.
the Germany
100%.
that gave my.
But it's not the same like it is today.
It's not the same that is today. And no matter what people say, it's not the Germany bashy. It's just
Absolutely not.
just talking facts. Like you say.
We need to talk more in depth about that. Maybe we could also expand on that.
Try to clarify that because I don't want to open the door for people that will.
No, you're right. You're right. That's good that you do that.
And you're not thankful for being in Germany living. I'm thankful
Yeah.
for. I don't want to open this stupid door because I know how social media works.
Right. Yeah. So I have to admit that the way I painted that picture might have been too one-dimensional. I agree, because we're trying to make a point here. So maybe then let's talk a little bit about cons about Dubai. So first of all, it's really expensive. You need to be able to afford living there.
So please don't be fooled by those people. Like I saw them on TikTok and social media. Yeah, I get a lot of videos sent from. Right.
I'm in Dubai with $3,000 a month. No, you won't do it. You will live a really bad life with that.
Yeah, man. Like I saw a video of someone, saying you need to live comfortably. He said he's a day trader. I don't want to mention his name. He's literally saying that you need $1 million to live comfortably in Dubai. I was saying just what?
I mean, that's a lot.
I was saying what bullshit is this guy talking about? And definitely you're not needing $1 million to live in a year to live comfortably in Dubai. Look, you can live in Dubai with $2,000. You can live in Dubai with $2,000.
Not the best one you tried, yeah.
You can. You will not live there,
But let's just say from let's just say at least 5 to 10,000, you live a decent life, and from 10 to 20, you already live a good life.
Exactly, $5,000 to $10,000. You're living in Dubai, and a decent apartment. You having this outgoing line,
like middle upper class kind of thing, right? More or less.
Well, this is the thing, I have a friend. His name is Alex Doidari, and he said one day one thing. He said,
"Who's this guy?"
He said one thing. He said, whenever you think you have already achieved everything, come to Dubai.
Yeah, that's true. I like this guy.
He said that to me. He said that.
Yeah.
Whenever you think you achieved everything, come to Dubai. And this is the,
it's crazy.
This is the crazy.
And I think that can be actually very supportive, right? I mean, again, it depends on your perspective and mindset. Some people would say all you see is materialism and this worshipping of money and whatnot. But you can also see it as a way of, look, this is also a manifestation of hard work, of what is possible, of what is potential, right? And whether you're an engineer or even these beautiful cars that drive there everywhere, somebody built these cars, somebody constructed these cars, somebody thought of making those cars, put a lot of effort into it. There needs to be someone who buys those things too, right? I mean,
of course. And
it wouldn't exist in the first place.
What I love about Dubai is one thing, really one thing. What I love about Dubai is one thing, is the fact that you look at Dubai and you just see they've been doubted so many times.
Yeah,
Troven by German media, by American media.
Right.
Or they're going to
die city, empty real estate. Nobody wants to real estate.
Come now. You go to a real estate. Of course, it's not like Germany where you standing in line for a 1-bedroom.
Oh, suddenly they lived the
other day, man, there was a line of 500 people.
That's not an expression of something positive. That's actually negative and sad, but we can tell me.
And Dubai is the opposite. You have enough for everyone, in all standards, but at the same time, you have a hype. What do I mean by that? So people still go and buy crazy. And the prices of the real estate are very reasonable compared to all over.
In comparison, right, yeah. Especially for the environment you're in.
Of course, I can get for $1 million, I can get a villa. In Germany, I probably
can't. For $1 million to get a really not a good. Yeah, your choices are limited, especially in cities you want to live in if you have that kind of money.
Yeah.
Munich, Hamburg,
of course, in the major hubs. If you want to live in the major hubs, you will pay more than
$1 million buys you nothing.
It buys you nothing, it buys you nothing. And long story short, Dubai is the place with a lot of opportunities. If you're smart, if you're coming with a solution for problems, people listen. People will listen to you. It's not the traditional old way of thinking.
And it's faster, right? You can really make things happen quick.
Oh, man, it's so. This is what I like about Dubai. It's so quick, like they implement new things so quick. The way how you can apply for your Emirates ID, the way how you get things delivered.
Yeah, and there's so many things, apps, so like even government things are solved with a simple app.
Man, I speak with government officials over WhatsApp.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. He says your ID is ready, or or can you come pick up, or can you do the fingerprints? And it's not just that. It's like a lot of more things. You can get your car, you get car fuel, delivered to your door.
And for the same price, actually, like at the gas station. That's crazy.
It's just endless,
Yeah.
I could count.
I had I had an issue with my battery. Some guy comes and does it in the parking. I had an issue with my tire. They changed the tire in where I live.
And they don't tell you, yeah, we would show up in 3 hours, because we are busy, and that happens.
Oh, they come quickly and they text you on WhatsApp.
Exactly, they text you on WhatsApp, and I think that kind of environment helps you to improve, because
to be faster, to be quicker.
I get just to mention another thing, I get my electricity, my water bill in one go. You know what I mean? Every month. There is no such thing. We call it in Germany Nachzahlung. Where they recalculate maybe that you have used more than you actually should have used, and then you pay more. There's not such thing.
Right, or the other way around. Yeah, true. Very true.
Like it's just.
I had the situation once in Cyprus. There's also like road tax that you need to pay, and I just forgot about it. I never got a letter. I never got a message. Anything. One day the police stops me and says your car is deregistered. Like, what do you mean it's not registered? Because I didn't pay the tax for the road tax, and I had no notification, no letter, no anything. They just at some point removed the car from the registration. That cannot happen in Dubai.
You see, this is what that can't happen in Dubai. Because they will find a way to contract you. And everything works through apps.
Yeah,
everything.
Yeah. But also to be fair, to talk about some negatives as well. So I think because of this fast-paced, let's just say at sometimes also a superficial type of environment, there's a lot of scams, a lot of people, pretentious people that are not what they are. The fake it till you make it culture is very big there. More for bad than for good, I would say.
Yes. And also, I'm going to explain something. I agree, but the problem is it has nothing to do with Dubai, because Dubai is not actually inviting such people.
Right?
Because you can look rich in Dubai. And there was a guy that really described it very well on the internet. He said, you can basically just stand in front of a Lamborghini in different type of colors,
and anywhere.
And you can't do that in Paris. You can't do that in Hamburg. You can't do that. Maybe you can do that to some degree, but it's not to the same degree like in Dubai. In Dubai, you can be sitting in a coffee shop, acting like you're having the biggest meal, And this is what makes Dubai so special for the people. You know what I mean? For scammers, because you can act rich without being rich.
Right. Yeah, that's true. So again, that actually dovetails into what we keep preaching here, is that you gotta have some, substance to what you do. When you have a real skill set, real knowledge about something, you will differentiate from the people that just pretend to be or pretend to know. And to be honest, I've never worked with a really wealthy person that didn't understand the difference between somebody who talks shit and somebody who is an expert. And we're talking about people that are really rich because they hire the experts all the time. That's how they stay rich, basically, right? So these pretentious people, they usually make money from poor people. They steal money of people that didn't have any money in the first place, or only a little money. So that's sad a bit, but it is what it is. So you need to develop yourself into someone who is valuable, who solves problems, and then you will be very much, be compensated for that in an environment like Dubai.
Yeah.
Look, yeah, I agree.
the cons with Dubai, look, the cons with Dubai, they will always exist, like you said, because those scammers, unfortunately, they take advantage of the people. And people always want to have, I think it's not just the fault of the people that lives in Dubai, the scammers that lives in Dubai. It's also the fault of the people that really think that you can just show up somewhere and be rich. Just by following your free instructions of this guy, And come on, guys.
Nobody ever got rich overnight, really. And whoever got rich overnight lost it overnight, not too long after.
Exactly. Exactly.
By the way, how do you feel about, like, I noticed that about myself. You become a little bit, the tolerance builds up against luxury items. Like a Ferrari is nothing special anymore.
No.
A good restaurant meal is, it's just, like you really become. How do you deal with that? I think you can.
I don't know if that's the right word. You become blunt. So I don't. I see a Rolls Royce next to me. I see Ferraris next to me. Lamborghinis is nothing that I look at. You know what I mean? It's nothing.
Right.
To me, it's nothing special. I've saw them, sat in them. It's nothing that I would say it's something special to me. Fancy restaurants, because I've been so many years here and I saw all the development from, really like they had no buildings to a whole skyline. That
right.
I can tell you that you get the intolerance, like.
Yeah, right. You saturate, right? But again, I think what you're saying, and I like that a lot, is that you grow past the necessity of that when you really, it actually helps you to grow your personality when you're not reliant on these things.
You can't impress me personally.
Right.
You can't impress me with watches. You can't impress me with cars. And you can't impress me with all sorts of material bullshit because I've made it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
I made it. I saw it. And I saw a lot of scam too. And I know for a fact if I want it, I can get it. And that's the point. I think it's a difference between you see it, you live here, and you can get it if you need it. And if you don't want it, you don't have to do it. You know what I mean?
So let's make this a little bit more than, let's notch it up a little bit. How do you deal with women, with gold diggers, with these kind of situations?
Well, look, at the end of the day, I have nothing to do with them because I don't see them in my environment. Does that make sense? I don't see them in my environment because in my environment, they don't exist because I don't visit the restaurants where they are. I don't visit the places where they are, and if you are a resident of Dubai, you probably, if you have some sort of decency, I don't think personally you will deal with them because it's obvious. You know what I mean?
Right. So at the end of the day, it's discipline, right? Your own personal discipline and life choices that you make.
Of course. And don't forget, this is Dubai. This is Dubai. Everyone is trying to make ends meet,
Right. They're just using whatever they have to offer in order to,
And in Dubai, yes,
everyone would
people tell me, there's a lot of gold diggers in Dubai. Of course, there's gold diggers in Dubai. There's gold diggers in Monaco,
Yeah, true.
Gold diggers in London, and it's just,
right. True. Yeah,
exactly. It's wherever money is concentrated, you will have people that delivers a service, no matter if you like the service or not.
Right. It's going to be part of the environment. I agree with that. And it's your personal preferences and choices that actually make you see these things or need to deal with them or not. Right. Maybe just one other thing that to end this maybe on a little funny note. Yeah. Something I don't get used to in Dubai at all is these perfumed buildings. Man. There's this special, I think it's Imar or the mark, they all have their own special, and I think it's Imar that makes it extremely strong wherever you go, in every Vida hotel and whatnot. And for me, that's just a little bit too much. It's like jumping through the perfume.
I think it's a traditional thing, I think it's an Arab thing. To be bathing in perfume, less is not good.
Look at that, perfume, exactly.
You have to jump into that kind of, perfume,
flask into the bottle.
Otherwise, that's why if you go to the malls, you see perfumes all over. I have never
It's
seen.
true. They do spray. They're like, hey, test it, Pablo. You want to try it?
But, I mean, you traveled a lot too. I don't know any country that is so
Just like that, yeah.
countries that are fanatic into perfumes like the Arab countries, and has something also with religion, and traditions.
It's a cultural thing. It's fair. Fair enough.
But I agree with that. I agree with you. If for example, my mother, if she visits me, she says sometimes, "Wow, my head is turning around."
Yeah, that's sort of my thing. It's like, wow, can you just nudge it a little bit? I'm like, it's also what you used to, in a way. And like I said, it's this Arab cultural thing is probably to bathe into it. You use that word, that expression. I thought that was very interesting because
It's been a very wonderful podcast. A few.
yeah, I love it.
I love it. I think we can really continue doing it that way. That would only work also if you guys give us some feedback, put us some topics into the
Comments.
exactly that we need to talk about.
Maybe some guests that you want to, suggest or
There we go. Mark the guests that you would like to have on our podcast. We will, of course, increase also the quality of
yeah. Right, start to use better technology and whatever. So this is like the first of its kind. So I hope you enjoyed that.
But been talking about it such a long time and now setting it up, I think already
it started and let's just do it. Exactly.
It's a step forward. Alex, since it's our podcast, you are not the guest anymore and I'm not the guest anymore. I would say we say both goodbye to the people.
Goodbye. Bye to the people. Thank you for listening. And tell your mother, tell your friends, tell your everybody.
Because that's gonna be that kind of podcast that has this slight Arabic touch, with a modern twist of Europe, with well-educated people, that
because for those that don't know,
Arabs, born in Germany, raised up in Germany, and
living internationally,
living internationally, and want to make a difference in this podcast world. Yalla.
Exactly.
Thank you guys for listening.
Shukran, habibi.
Next time. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.